I never liked cleaning the school after hours, but I needed the money and the night shift paid more. The custodial staff had been short-handed for weeks, and the principal assured me I'd be working alone for just a few nights, until the other guy's flu cleared up. I thought I was used to the building's creaks and sighs, the way the pipes rattled when the gym showers leaked, or how the old lockers popped as the metal cooled. But last Friday, something felt off the moment I unlocked the doors. The air in the main hallway was heavy, almost damp, like the scent of rain-soaked textbooks, and old mop water had seeped into the walls. As I flicked on the lights, only half of them responded, the rest buzzing with dull orange filaments. It was always weird being there after dark, but that night, it felt as if I had walked into someone else's dream. Or maybe it was a memory. The place seemed to recognize me somehow, though I'd only started a month ago. I told myself I was being dramatic, just tired from my day job at the hardware store. The school was built in the 70s and everything about it was ugly and functional. Beige tiles, concrete pillars, a trophy case that hadn't been updated since 2006. But as I wheeled my cart down the science wing, I kept catching glimpses of movement in the corners of my eyes, just past the edge of the sickly light. I tried to focus on the rhythm of my work, sweep, mop, empty bins. The steady scrape of the broom was comforting, almost meditative. The first odd thing happened near the end of the east corridor, where the classrooms backed onto the woods. As I gathered trash bags, I noticed a classroom door was slightly open. Room 217. The teacher's always locked up and I was sure I'd already checked all the doors. I nudged it wider with my foot, expecting nothing more than a forgotten lunchbox or a streak of marker on the whiteboard. But the air inside was colder, a difference you could feel in your teeth. The window was closed, the blinds drawn. There was a faint, almost metallic smell, like the tang of old pennies. I scanned the room. Rows of desks, a stack of graded papers, the skeletal outline of a frog projected on the smartboard. Nothing out of place except for a single chair, pulled far from its desk, facing the back corner. The seat was slightly askew, as if someone had left in a hurry. I shrugged and pushed the chair back in. As I turned to leave, I paused. On the far wall, a poster of the solar system caught my eye. The paper was curling at the corners, but something was strange about it. I stepped closer. Pluto had been scratched out with a ballpoint pen, not just crossed off, but gouged in angry, overlapping circles. Tiny flakes of blue and white littered the floor beneath it. I frowned, thinking about kids bored during detention, and made a note to mention it to the teacher. The walkie-talkie clipped to my belt crackled softly, its speaker giving a half-formed burst of static. I froze, holding my breath, listening for a voice. Nothing. Just the electrical hum. I told myself it was probably interference from the boiler room, which happened sometimes when the pipes rattled. Back in the hallway, the silence was thick. My sneakers squeaked on the waxed floor, echoing down the corridor. I tried humming under my breath, a tune I couldn't place, but the sound just made the emptiness feel deeper. As I passed the cafeteria, I noticed the exit sign above the double doors flickering faster than before, casting spastic shadows along the walls. For a second, it almost looked like someone was standing just beyond the frosted glass, their outline blurred, and just a little taller than any student or teacher I'd seen here. My pulse jumped, but when I focused, the shape was gone, replaced by the restless jitter of light on the glass. I made myself walk right up to the doors, pressing my palm to the cold metal bar. Through the glass, the empty parking lot stretched under the yellow spill of the street lamp. No one there, not even a rabbit darting across the asphalt. I drew my hand back and realized my breath had fogged the glass, smudging into a faint handprint that matched mine. Except it was wider, the fingers longer, like someone had pressed their palm there before me and left a mark beneath the condensation. I told myself I was seeing things. Maybe the glass was just streaked from a messy kid's lunch earlier. I wiped it with my sleeve and tried to laugh, but the sound barely reached my own ears. At least I was almost done with the first floor. I hurried back to the janitor's closet to swap out the dirty mop water, rolling the bucket slowly so it wouldn't slosh. The closet door always stuck, but tonight it resisted more than usual, as if something heavy was pressing back from the other side. When it finally gave way, I stumbled inside, heart quickening, and flicked on the light. For a moment, I stood in the sharp chemical brightness, letting the familiar smell of bleach and lemon floor cleaner steady me. I reached for the mop, but my sleeve brushed something sticky on the shelf. I looked down. There was a handprint in dust on the metal, 5 long streaks, as if someone had dragged their hand through the grime, each finger ending in a strange, almost claw-like point. Maybe I'd done it without realizing, but my hands were too small, and my nails bitten down to the quick. I wiped it away with a rag, forcing myself to focus on work. As I poured out the old water, I heard it, the squeal of sneakers on linoleum, further down the hall. Not mine this time. It was a quick, sharp sound, like someone spinning on their heel. I leaned out, peering into the gloom. Hello? My voice bounced oddly, swallowed by the building. I waited, every hair on my arm standing up, but all I heard was the far-off hum of the vending machines. I finished mopping faster than usual, shoulders tight, glancing over my shoulder every few minutes. I tried to distract myself by reciting my to-do list in my head, but that just made the emptiness more obvious. The school seemed to push back against me, every closed door pressing down like a held breath. When I entered the gym, the air changed again, colder, with a faint sweet rot that reminded me of old sweat and wilted oranges. The emergency lights cast long shadows on the polished floor, and the basketball hoops looked like giant insect legs folded against the walls. I wheeled my cart around the edge, keeping to the wall. As I passed the bleachers, I heard a whisper. No, not a word, more like a dry breath, as if someone was exhaling just beneath my ear. I jerked back, slamming my elbow against the cart. "Who's there?" My voice echoed, thin and small. No answer. The hush settled in tighter, the kind that makes your teeth feel too big for your mouth. I squatted to check beneath the lowest bleacher rung, half expecting to see a raccoon or a student hiding out. But there was only the sweeping darkness, the vague shape of a kicked-away tennis ball. I stood up too fast, dizzy for a moment, and steadied myself on the cart. I was halfway across the gym when the overhead scoreboard flickered to life. Its red numbers blinked. 2:17. The same as the classroom number from earlier. I stared at the scoreboard. The numbers pulsed, impossibly bright in the gloom. 2:17. Over and over, the column flashing in a slow, steady rhythm that didn't match the stuttering emergency lights. I felt a prickling, like icy nails running down my spine. There was no reason for the scoreboard to be on. I hadn't touched anything. No one had. No games were scheduled, and the control box was locked up in the office. I forced myself to look away, telling myself it was some electrical glitch, maybe tied to the same surge that had made the exit sign flicker. But every part of me wanted to run, and it was only pride, or maybe stubbornness, that kept me moving. I pushed my cart toward the far doors, trying to focus on the rhythmic squeak of the wheels. As I reached the exit, the numbers on the scoreboard changed. For a split second, the display glitched, and every segment of the numbers lit up, spelling something that almost looked like a word. Noon, just a jumble of lines, but unmistakable. My knees buckled. I yanked the door open, expecting the cool hallway air, but instead, a wave of heat hit me. Thick and sour, as if the school had exhaled. Somewhere behind me, I heard the metallic clang of the scoreboard shutting off, plunging the gym back into shadow. The hall felt different now, compressed, as if the walls had crept closer. The fluorescents overhead hummed an uneven pattern, and as I walked I realized the lockers looked wrong. Some were slightly ajar. Though I'd checked them earlier, and a few had names I didn't recognize scrawled in Sharpie, names that didn't match any student or staff list I'd seen on the bulletin board. I checked my phone, hoping for a distraction, but the time was stuck at 2:17. It wouldn't refresh. Even the second hand was frozen mid-tick. I heard the squeak again, a slow, dragging sound, closer now, from the direction of the language wing. Against my better judgment, I called out, "If someone's here, you need to go. The school's closed." My words felt thin, like they were being swallowed before they reached the end of the corridor. The sound stopped abruptly. I waited, holding my breath, counting the seconds. 10, 15. Then without warning, every classroom door along the hallway swung open at once, slamming into plaster and echoing like thunder. The suddenness knocked the air out of me. My mop clattered to the floor. Shadows spilled from the doorways, deep and rippling, as if the rooms were exhaling their darkness into the hall. I stumbled backward, bumping into the trophy case. The glass was cold, fogged with a film that hadn't been there a moment ago. I wiped at it instinctively, and as I did, I saw my own reflection. But behind me, just over my shoulder, was the faint outline of someone much taller, with arms that seemed to bend at strange angles, fingertips brushing the case. I spun around, heart hammering, but there was nothing there. Only the empty hall and the open doors, swinging gently, as if in a breeze I couldn't feel. I ran. I didn't even grab my cart. I sprinted toward the main office, where I'd left my bag and keys. My shoes slapped the tile, echoing ahead of me. The air felt thick, almost syrupy, dragging at my limbs. As I reached for the office door, I heard it again, a whisper right in my ear. So clear I couldn't pretend anymore that it was just the building settling. "Don't go." I fumbled with the keys, dropping them twice. My hands were slick,